We've got to correct this. We've got to correct it. We'll change some personnel for sure. What I am confident is, and I'll really kind of have a note here in big red head letters. One of the, without a question, the reasons that Mike McCarthy is the coach is because he's been through it. And he's had tough times, and he's had disappointing times. Certainly, we couldn't have anticipated being at this stage with our team this year. But if I were going to hire a head coach, that we're going to be at this stage this year and work through this for the betterment of what's in store for us for the rest of the year and for what's for us in the future, I got my man.
He also got testy with the host of that radio show later. So he said, I've got my man. We've got our guy. Jalen, do you buy the confidence that the Jones family is giving Mike McCarthy at this point in the season?
See, here's the disconnect. Jerry Jones does have his guy. The problem is the 53 players in uniform aren't performing for your guy. That's the disconnect. If you watch this show, you knew who the Cowboys' next head coach was going to be before it was at the bottom of the ticker because I told you. And you know, Jacoby, one of my favorite people and coaches of all time is Jimmy Johnson. And he's still not in the Ring of Honor. Ever since he left, Jerry Jones has decided he's going to hire a coach as well as be the GM where if they win, he's going to be the loudest voice in the room and take all of the credit. And so Mike McCarthy does fit this motto. Jason Garrett did fit this motto. You think he's going to fire him after 6 weeks? When he didn't fire Jason Garrett, when people thought he should have fired him the last 5 or 6 years, he's not going to admit that he made a mistake. He said when he's in the locker room, he doesn't see a leadership void on the team. That's the disconnect. The players walk past the coach to talk to you because you're the face of the franchise. You're the mouth of the locker room. You talking about it's going to be personnel changes? Is that what I heard him say?
I heard that too.
What personnel changes are you going to make?
You don't have any salary cap space. What are you going to do, Jerry? Yeah, you're going to trade somebody? What are you going to do, Mr. Jones?
Exactly.
Elaborate on that, please, sir. I don't see what he's going to do.
Exactly.
And Jalen,
So he's now doubled down on a situation that already was going bad.
There's no chance that they let go of Mike McCarthy at this point in the season because we always say success is a function of realistic expectations, and expectations for the Cowboys were much higher than they're performing right now. However, when Dak goes down and Ben DiNucci is playing quarterback, the expectations go down to the floor. So Mike McCarthy can always point to Dak going down and say, that's why this season we're 6-10 or we're 4-12. And then he will get another chance at this job because Jerry Jones isn't exactly quick to pull his head coaches. Oh, no, they're not making the playoffs. They're not making the playoffs. And also, I do want to know, Jerry Jones, what personnel changes are you talking about making?
They in.
I want to follow up to that. Jerry Jones, what personnel changes do you think you are making? We will keep an eye on that moving forward. However, it was the eye of defensive coordinator Mike Nolan that was under siege during a press conference. I can't wait for you to see this tape.
Obviously, the frustration for him as well is just, look, when he misses them, nobody, excuse me, I got something in my eye. Just had some Tabasco on my finger and it went in my eye. That wasn't good. Oh.
Never good. Anyone that's ever had hot sauce in their eye. I had some sriracha in my eye one time. I swear I wanted to call 911 to go to the hospital. Hot sauce in the eye is terrible, but it is a good microcosm of what's happening with this Cowboys season. There is hot sauce in the eye of the Cowboys this season. They can't even beat condiments in a game. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
Here's my thoughts. Okay. The game just ended, right? The game just ended. That's a post-game press conference, right?
I do not believe so. I think this is from
Or
yesterday.
is that a post-practice? Okay, so if that's a post-practice press conference, that means you went and ate before you talk to the media. First
now he can't eat? Now he can't eat? My man can't eat right now? That's what we're doing? We're criticizing his eating schedule?
I didn't say that he could not eat. I'm just talking about the chain of command normally works when you finish practice. That's when you handle your media obligations, Jacoby. That's all. So he did go eat because they have a $1 billion facility. I'm pretty sure they got 15,000 chefs there. But what was in his eye was that it got dotted by every offense that he's played against and coordinated this year. That's what's been in his eye.
His eyes have seen so much destruction.
Understanding that you and your staff will focus on this all the time, when you hit a stretch like this, are you really more concerned about the attitude at this stage or the execution?
Oh, well, we need both. So, but as far as, what's the priority? I think the, attitude, style of play is what, is the primary focus. So, because when your style of play is correct, the execution will benefit the most from that, as opposed to execution without the proper style of play. So, I would say attitude and style of play is our primary focus.
And what ways do you go about getting that? Because obviously there are some principles that you just reinforce regardless of what's going on, but when the message isn't being received or not being carried out, do you look to do things differently, or are there some things you won't do differently? How do you approach that whole aspect of it?
Well, I think you have to have evaluation filter in place, which I do, and I think the fact that you go through your evaluation process, it starts on the plane ride home last night, and throughout the morning, and you take it to the players. But as you go through that, as we're getting ready for Philadelphia, bringing the things that we know we need to work on. Is there something in Wednesday's practice can you change? Thursdays, the meetings today, what's accomplished. So at the end of the day, we got to keep emphasizing, the way we need to play, the things we need to do better. No one feels worse than the football team. We understand the disappointment outside of the building. It's clearly, we're worthy of the criticism. So, frankly, we got to make sure that we stay on point, stay on target, and just not react and try to change up a bunch of things just to change. That's not my nature. I'm a big believer in the process, and that's going to be the approach.
Can you give us an update on Dalton's status and how he's feeling today?
Andy Dalton's in the concussion protocol, and as far as every stage and so forth, I'm not going to get into the specifics of that, but he was here today, saw the trainers and so forth, so he was not in the meetings.
You talked last night about the team didn't have the expected response after the dirty hit from Boston. Did you talk to them about that? And also, how do you feel about the NFL deciding not to suspend Boston and Boston just give them a fine?
As far as the NFL, I'm not up to date on that, and that's obviously out of my thought process. So as far as what went on with Andy's hit, I think obviously the officiating took care of what happened and so forth. But the response, from the offensive line, I think our guys did exactly. At the starting point was, cover the football. They were all five of them were right there when Andy went down. But I think this whole thing, as far as how it's viewed, is a little bit of a microcosm of just kind of where we are. So you got young players in new situations. So, but that's really all I got to say about that.
Consistently talk about how one reason he believes in you is because you don't just have experience with success, but also adversity. How do you use that here, and how do you feel like you've used it in the season so far?
I totally apologize. I didn't catch the first part. The adversity.
Jerry Jones has consistently said that the reason he believes in you is because you don't just have experience with success, you also have experience with adversity.
Okay.
How do you feel like you've used that experience this season, and how do you use it where your team is at right now?
Well, we've had plenty of adversity. I mean, it's clearly we're not playing to the level that we need to compete and to win games. So, when I look back at my past experiences, this season there's segments of this season that remind me of my first year in Green Bay, 2006. We were 1-4. Then there was a stretch of 3 games that we didn't play very well at all, and was beaten thoroughly by the Patriots, and lost a tough one, I think, up at Seattle, and then beaten again at home by the Jets, and we were 4-8. So, and then went on to win some really good games at the end and finish 8-8, and it was